Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we take a look at all this free tech I got. We've got broken laptops, we've got working laptops, we've got working desktops, working monitors, SSDs, hard drives, RAM, keyboards, mice, and some rack-mounted Ethernet switches. All of this stuff was destined for the rubbish heap. There was tons of it, and it was split between me and a couple of my friends. So we're going to be taking a look at what I got free from school, as it was all going in the trash. The first thing we're going to be taking a look at here is this Dell Opitplex 740 mini tower. Now this has 4 GB of RAM and is currently running a clean install of Windows 10 Education. I did downgrade this to Windows 7 after I shot this clip, as it was extremely laggy on Windows 10. And you can see there that monitor was working just fine. Now I decided to plug in another monitor that I also got that they were going to be throwing out, and you can see that it also works as well, which is excellent, and this computer is working. Inside of this computer you can see it has a 240 GB King Spec SSD, which will be going straight into my Mac Pro to upgrade the stock 250 GB hard drive. The next thing that we're taking a look at here is a Dell Opitplex 740 desktop, which I upgraded to 7 GB of RAM and put in a 160 GB hard drive and installed Windows 7 Home Premium. You can see here it works just fine and has an AMD Athlon processor. I'm not sure about my AMD processors at all, so it's probably not very powerful given the age of this computer, but it does basic tasks like browse the internet and word processing. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is a Lenovo ThinkPad L410, and I got this thrown in as well, and you can see here it's got a wide range of ports and a CDRW drive, and is fully intact, and we're going to go ahead and plug it in here and test it out. But first I'm going to go ahead and open it up and see what this thing has in terms of RAM and hard drive, as it did have a Samsung SSD sticker on the front of the laptop. So taking out the RAM here, you can see that it is a 2 GB SODIMM, so having 2 of those means it has 4 gigs of RAM. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back in to keep it at 4 gigs of RAM. I'm going to be taking a look at this hard drive. So there's a black pull tab, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it back and lift it out and see what we've got. And sure enough, it's a Samsung solid state drive. Now it is 128 GB, and I'm going to be actually removing this from the computer, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and power it up and see if it actually works. And you can see here that it powers on just fine. Now I actually had a ThinkPad charger from another free ThinkPad I got a couple of years back, and I threw out the laptop, but I kept the charger. So I was able to power up this laptop, and you can see here that it has an operating system on it, but I'm not sure of the password, so I wiped the drive anyway for security reasons and reinstalled Windows 7 on a different hard drive and put it in there. Now taking a look at all this RAM, you can see most of it says like 2 gigs or 4 gigs on it. Most of it is 1 gig. There's quite a few 512 megabyte DDR2 sticks as well, but there's DDR2, DDR3, and all of the laptop memory is all 1 gig SODIMMs. But you can see here I got a couple of 2 GB sticks as well of DDR3 memory, but yeah, like I said, most of it is just miscellaneous RAM from various different types of computers. Now taking a look at this very heavy duty looking RAM, this is actually ECC memory from servers, but these also do work in the earlier Mac Pros. Now my Mac Pro takes this exact memory, but it's already got 8 4 GB sticks of these, so these ones won't be needed, and I have a lot of them already. But you can see there was a lot of RAM, and now it's time to test out some of these hard drives I've got. Most of them are either 160 or 250, but I also have a couple of 320 GB hard drives as well, and I can confirm all of these hard drives work and show up on the desktop. They've all been wiped and erased for obviously security reasons, and are ready to go, and I'm going to be installing some of these in my Mac Pro later on. Now also in this box I found a 3000 GB hard drive, and when I first saw this I thought it was 300 GB, and I picked it up and went, oh cool, 300 gigs, and Got it home and turns out it's 3 terabytes. Now I went ahead and plugged it in, and sure enough, it showed up in disk utility. Now after copying some files to it, it did disconnect from the computer, so I believe this drive is faulty, but still a 3 terabyte hard drive. I guess that's cool to have laying around, but it wasn't fully functional, but the rest of these hard drives worked. And testing out the SSDs, all of the SSDs that I had, including the SanDisk, the Samsung, and the OCZ SSD, work just fine and are detected and formatted for my computer. Now I also salvaged 6 320GB Toshiba hard drives, and I found 2 160GB hard drives as well. These are for laptops, and they all work just fine, so that's a nice score indeed. Now my friend actually got most of the hard drives, and he gave me a few more 250GB hard drives, so 4 of those, and he gave me 2 more 320GB hard drives and 2 brand new, still sealed. All up, I got 6 SSDs, 5 of them being 120 gigs and 1 of them being 240. And you can see here, I got a heap of these broken Acer laptops as well. And that is where I got all of those 320GB hard drives from. Now these also have 4GB of DDR3 memory, which I also salvaged and actually put 4 gigs into my dad's iMac, so now it has 8GB. It's a 2010 21.5 inch iMac. Now most of these have either cracked screens or motherboard issues, so these are probably going to be going into the bin after I've salvaged all the parts, because these are very, very bad laptops and they struggle to run YouTube and things like that, so I really don't see a point in trying to fix these. I might be able to make one good one or something, but most of them are quite rubbish. Now, in this lot, I also got a heap of these 48 port Ethernet switches. They all power up, but most of them have fan issues. There's about 2 or 3 that don't have any fan issues at all and work flawlessly. But this one here, you can hear, sounds quite bad. That's just because the fans need replacing. You can see there, that one sounded a lot better, but you can see has a fan error. Still a very nice find. So opening this up, I expected something pretty interesting in here, but really there was just a power supply and a heap of Ethernet switches and circuitry in there. But you can see there, the fans are quite easy to fix, so I could make a couple of good units by taking fans out of other ones. So the next thing I wanted to do was install an SSD into my Mac Pro, because it's still rocking its original 250GB Apple hard drive. So obviously I wanted something with a lot of storage, and the only one that was 240GB was this Kingston Technology SSD. So this is going to be the one that I'm going to be installing into my Mac Pro. So I went ahead and cloned this with Carbon Copy Cloner, and now we're going to go ahead and install it in the Mac Pro. So obviously you need to open the side of your Mac Pro up, and this Mac Pro just turned 11 years old a couple of days ago, and you can see here there's its original 250GB Apple hard drive, which will be going back in probably one of the drive bays, but we're going to be replacing this with a 240GB SSD. So you can see here it's quite different in size. It's also a hell of a lot quieter and lighter. Now I don't have an adapter as of yet, so it's just kind of going to be sitting in there, but I will be getting one. I won't make a video on it, but I will be getting an adapter. Don't worry about that. So I'll be able to put the drive tray back in, but I'm going to be using this DVI to VGA adapter to just keep the SSD nice and straight in there. Next up was to replace the 160GB Seagate drive that I had in there for all of my video files and all of my iMovie projects. This kept getting full halfway through making videos, and it was driving me absolutely insane. So we're going to be putting a 320GB hard drive in there, which should be enough for a couple of videos, and should get me by a lot better than the 160GB hard drive. Keep in mind this Mac Pro has 32GB of RAM, dual 8800 GT graphics cards, it has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, it has an array of hard drives, dual optical drives. It's running 10.11 El Capitan, and is an absolute amazing computer for its age. And you can see here that the SSD is recognized after I cloned it, and I had to re-encrypt my data, but after that, this was back to being my main machine, which is now extremely fast thanks to that free 240GB SSD. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time, another one of my great videos.